Tonight, as you settle into the gentle embrace of sleep, I want you to consider something that will stretch your mind across the very foundations of existence itself. What if I told you that before our universe burst into being in that spectacular moment we call the Big Bang, there wasn't just empty space waiting to be filled. There wasn't darkness. There wasn't silence. There wasn't even nothing, at least not in the way your mind might imagine nothing to be. What existed before the Big Bang challenges everything we think we understand about reality, time, and the very nature of existence. And the answer, when we finally glimpse it through the lens of cutting-edge physics and COSM, reimagine what we mean when we use the word nothing. Welcomeology is so mind-bending that it forces us to completely to a journey that will take us to the very edge of human understanding, where the familiar laws of physics break down, where time itself becomes meaningless, and where the concept of before loses all definition. If you find comfort in these gentle explorations of the deepest cosmic mysteries, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing and letting that notification bell guide you back to these peaceful contemplations of the infinite. Tonight, we're venturing into territory that even the most brilliant minds in physics approach with a mixture of awe and bewilderment. We'll explore quantum fields that shimmer with potential, even in the absence of matter, examine the strange mathematics of imaginary time, and discover how the very fabric of space-time itself might have emerged from something far more mysterious and beautiful than simple emptiness. Feel free to close your eyes and let your imagination drift as we explore these cosmic depths. Also, I'd love to know where you're contemplating from tonight. Drop your time and location in the comments below. There's something beautifully humbling about pondering the origins of everything while scattered across our small blue marble, each of us gazing into the same infinite mystery that has captivated human minds since we first looked up at the stars. Let's begin this journey to the very beginning, or perhaps more accurately, to what came before beginnings had any meaning at all. When most people think about what existed before the Big Bang, they imagine a vast, empty void. Picture infinite black space stretching in all directions, silent and cold, waiting for something to happen. But this intuitive picture, as natural as it seems, is actually completely wrong. It's wrong in ways that will challenge everything you think you know about existence itself. The first thing we need to understand is that the Big Bang wasn't an explosion that happened somewhere in space. It wasn't like a cosmic firecracker going off in an empty room. The Big Bang was the creation of space itself, along with time, matter, energy, and all the fundamental forces that govern our universe. Before the Big Bang, there was no somewhere for anything to exist, no when for events to occur, and no stage upon which the drama of existence could unfold. But here's where our journey becomes truly fascinating, because saying there was nothing before the Big Bang is simultaneously true and completely misleading. The nothing that physicists are talking about is unlike any nothing you've ever experienced or could even imagine. It's a nothing so rich with potential, so pregnant with possibility, that it contains within itself the seeds of everything that would ever exist. To understand this cosmic paradox, we need to dive deep into the quantum realm, where the familiar rules of reality begin to break down in the most beautiful and mysterious ways. At the quantum level, nothing is never truly nothing. Even in the emptiest regions of space, what we call the quantum vacuum, there's a constant dance of creation and annihilation happening at scales so tiny and so brief that they exist just at the edge of what's physically possible. Imagine, if you will, the surface of a perfectly calm lake on a windless day. From a distance, it appears completely still, perfectly smooth. But if you could zoom in with a powerful enough microscope, you'd discover that the surface is actually alive with countless tiny ripples and waves, constantly forming and disappearing, creating a dynamic tapestry of motion that was invisible from your original vantage point. The quantum vacuum is like that lake surface, but far more extraordinary. In what appears to be empty space, pairs of particles are constantly popping into existence, existing for the briefest possible moment, and then annihilating each other and disappearing back into the void. These aren't theoretical particles, these are real, measurable phenomena that we can detect and study in our laboratories. These virtual particles, as physicists call them, exist in a realm that straddles the line between being and non-being. They borrow energy from the universe's quantum bank account, knowing they must pay it back so quickly that the universe's bookkeeping system can't quite catch them in the act. It's as if reality has a cosmic credit card with a spending limit determined by Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, one of the most fundamental laws of quantum mechanics. This quantum foam, this seething sea of potential that underlies all of reality, gives us our first glimpse into what the nothing before the Big Bang might have been like. But we're just getting started, because the nothing that preceded our universe was far stranger and more wonderful than even this quantum description suggests. To truly grasp what existed before the Big Bang, we need to abandon our human-centered perspective on time itself. We experience time as a river flowing from past to future, carrying us along its current whether we want to go or not. We remember yesterday, we experience now, and we anticipate tomorrow. This seems like the most natural, obvious way for time to work. But this linear progression from past to future is actually just one possible way that time can behave. And it's not the way time worked in the earliest moments of our universe's existence. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds ever to contemplate these cosmic mysteries, proposed something called imaginary time to help us understand what happened at the very beginning. Don't let the name fool you. Imaginary time isn't make-believe or fictional. It's a mathematical concept that describes a very real aspect of how time can behave under extreme conditions. In imaginary time, the distinction between time and space begins to blur. The sharp boundary between past and future becomes soft and malleable. Time can curve back on itself, branch in multiple directions, or even cease to flow in any recognizable way. In this realm, asking what came before the Big Bang becomes like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question itself assumes a framework that simply doesn't apply. Hawking suggested that in imaginary time, the universe might have no boundary, no edge, no beginning or end. It would be completely self-contained, like the surface of a sphere that you can travel around forever without ever reaching a starting point or a stopping point. In this view, the Big Bang wasn't a moment when time began, but rather a transition from imaginary time to the real time that we experience in our daily lives. But even this mind-bending concept of imaginary time is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. To really understand what existed before our universe, we need to consider the possibility that our Big Bang wasn't a unique event, but part of an ongoing cosmic process that has been happening for longer than time itself has meaning. This brings us to one of the most spectacular ideas in modern cosmology: eternal inflation. Picture a vast cosmic ocean where universes bubble into existence like champagne bubbles rising to the surface. Each bubble is a complete universe with its own Big Bang, its own evolution, its own stars and galaxies, and perhaps its own forms of life wondering about the mysteries of existence. In this model, our universe is just one bubble among countless others, floating in a higher dimensional space that's constantly giving birth to new universes. The nothing before our Big Bang would actually be this eternal inflating multiverse, a realm where the normal rules of physics are suspended and universes are created through quantum fluctuations in ways that our earthbound minds can barely begin to comprehend. But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. In eternal inflation, the process of universe creation never stops. Right now, as you listen to these words, countless new universes might be bubbling into existence in dimensions that exist parallel to our own. Each one begins with its own Big Bang, its own version of what we consider the beginning of everything. But from the perspective of the eternal multiverse, there never was a beginning, and there never will be an end. This eternal cosmic creativity means that the nothing before our Big Bang was actually a something so vast and so creative that it defies every category our minds use to make sense of reality. It was a realm of pure potential, where the laws of physics themselves are born, where time and space come into being, where the very concepts of existence and non-existence emerge from deeper mathematical structures that govern all possible realities. Some physicists have proposed that this deeper reality consists of what they call quantum fields, invisible ocean-like entities that permeate all of existence. These fields aren't made of matter or energy in any sense we'd recognize. They're more fundamental than atoms, more basic than space and time, more essential than the forces that hold everything together. In the realm before our Big Bang, these quantum fields existed in what physicists call a false vacuum state. Think of it like a ball sitting on a high plateau, stable for the moment but containing enormous potential energy. At some point, through a quantum fluctuation, the ball rolled off the plateau and began tumbling down toward a lower energy state. That tumble, that cosmic phase transition, was our Big Bang. But the plateau the ball fell from wasn't empty space. It was a realm rich with the potential for all possible universes, all possible laws of physics, all possible ways that matter and energy and consciousness could organize themselves. The nothing that preceded everything was actually a something so pregnant with possibility that it contained within itself every story that could ever be told, every question that could ever be asked, every moment of wonder and discovery that would ever unfold. As we drift deeper into this cosmic mystery, we find ourselves confronting questions that push against the very limits of what human minds can grasp. If our universe emerged from a quantum fluctuation in some deeper reality, what determines the nature of that deeper reality? If time itself began with the Big Bang, what does it even mean to talk about what existed before time? And if the nothing before our universe was actually a rich quantum realm full of potential, where did that realm itself come from? These questions take us to the very edge of physics, to realms where mathematics becomes poetry, and scientific equations point toward truths so profound that they seem almost mystical. We're approaching territories where the distinction between something and nothing, between existence and non-existence begins to dissolve into more fundamental concepts that our everyday language simply cannot capture, the journey we're taking together tonight isn't just an exploration of cosmic origins. It's a meditation on the deepest nature of reality itself, an investigation into what it means for anything to exist at all. As we continue to probe these mysteries, we'll discover that the nothing before the Big Bang opens doorways to understanding that transform not just how we think about the universe, but how we think about consciousness, meaning, and our own place in the grand cosmic story that's still being written. But perhaps the most profound challenge to our understanding comes when we realize that the quantum fields we've been discussing might themselves emerge from something even more fundamental. Leading physicists like Max Tegmark have proposed that at the deepest level of reality, there might be nothing but pure mathematics. Not equations written on a blackboard by some cosmic mathematician, but mathematical structures that exist in a realm beyond physical reality as we know it. In this view, our universe isn't described by mathematics, it literally is mathematics. The particles that make up your body, the forces that hold atoms together, the space-time through which light travels, all of these would be mathematical objects existing in what Tegmark calls the mathematical universe. The nothing before our Big Bang wouldn't be empty space or even quantum fields, but rather the infinite realm of all possible mathematical structures, waiting for the right conditions to manifest as physical reality. Think about a perfect circle. Where does a circle exist? Not in any physical location, yet it's somehow real. Mathematicians can study its properties, discover truths about it, prove theorems concerning its nature. The circle exists in a realm of pure mathematical reality that transcends the physical world, yet influences everything within it. Now imagine that everything we consider physical, from the smallest quantum fluctuation to the largest galactic supercluster, exists in this same realm of mathematical reality. This mathematical multiverse would contain every possible universe that could ever exist, governed by every possible set of physical laws, experiencing every possible form of evolution. Our universe, with its particular values for fundamental constants, its specific history of cosmic evolution, would be just one mathematical structure among infinite others, no more or less real than any other possible reality. The implications of this perspective are breathtaking. Before our Big Bang, there would have been no time in which to wait, no space in which to exist, but there would have been something infinitely richer, the eternal realm of all mathematical possibilities. This realm doesn't exist in time because it contains all possible times. It doesn't exist in space because it encompasses all possible geometries. It simply is, in a way that transcends our normal understanding of existence. But this raises an even deeper question that strikes at the heart of everything we've been exploring. If reality is fundamentally mathematical, where do the mathematics themselves come from? What gives mathematical structures their existence? Why should there be anything rather than nothing, even at the level of abstract mathematical objects? Some physicists and philosophers suggest that we're approaching the ultimate boundary of human understanding, a place where the question, why is there something rather than nothing, might not have an answer, or might have an answer so alien to human thought that we couldn't recognize it even if we encountered it. Others propose that the question itself might be meaningless, like asking what color Wednesday is, or whether the number 7 is happy. Yet, there's another possibility, one that brings us full circle in our exploration of cosmic origins. What if the nothing before the Big Bang was actually the most something that could ever exist? What if the deepest level of reality is pure consciousness, pure awareness, experiencing itself through every possible form and structure? In this view, the mathematical realm, the quantum fields, the space-time of our universe would all be expressions of a fundamental consciousness exploring its own infinite potential. This isn't merely philosophical speculation. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the collapse of quantum states, in the transition from possibility to actuality. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to reality, then the nothing before our universe might have been pure, undifferentiated awareness, containing within itself the potential for every possible experience, every possible universe, every possible story of cosmic evolution. The transition from this primordial consciousness to our physical universe wouldn't have been a creation out of nothing, but rather a focusing of infinite awareness into particular forms and patterns. The Big Bang would have been a moment when pure consciousness began to dream the dream of physical reality, with each quantum fluctuation being a thought in the cosmic mind, each particle interaction being a moment of cosmic experience. This perspective suggests that you, listening to these words right now, aren't separate from the cosmic process we've been exploring. You're not a tiny, isolated being contemplating vast mysteries from the outside. You're the universe becoming aware of itself, consciousness recognizing its own cosmic nature through the temporary arrangement of matter and energy that you call your body and mind. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang might have been the same nothing that exists in the space between your thoughts right now. The same awareness that's listening to these words might be the same awareness that dreamed our universe into existence. The mystery of what came before everything might not be something external to be solved, but something internal to be recognized. As we've journeyed together through these cosmic depths, we've seen how the simple question of what existed before the Big Bang opens into layer after layer of mystery. We've explored quantum fields shimmering with virtual particles, imaginary time where past and future lose their meaning, eternal inflation birthing infinite universes, mathematical structures existing beyond physical reality, and the possibility that consciousness itself might be the fundamental ground of all existence. Each answer we've discovered has revealed new questions, deeper mysteries, more profound puzzles about the nature of reality itself. The nothing before our universe has shown itself to be incredibly rich, unimaginably creative, and perhaps fundamentally connected to the very awareness through which you're contemplating these ideas right now. The quantum vacuum that underlies all of physical reality, with its constant dance of virtual particles appearing and disappearing, mirrors something profound about the nature of existence itself. In quantum field theory, even empty space is filled with zero-point energy, a baseline level of activity that can never be removed, never be reduced to absolute nothingness. This suggests that at the deepest level, reality is inherently active, inherently creative, never truly at rest. But this zero-point energy isn't just a curious feature of quantum mechanics. It might be the key to understanding how our universe could emerge from apparent nothingness. When physicists calculate the total energy content of our universe, including all the matter, all the radiation, all the kinetic energy of moving objects, and then subtract the gravitational binding energy that holds everything together, they get a result that's remarkably close to zero. This suggests that our universe might be what physicists call a free lunch in terms of energy conservation. The positive energy of matter and radiation is exactly balanced by the negative energy of gravitational fields, resulting in a universe whose total energy content is essentially zero. If this is correct, then creating a universe doesn't require any energy input from outside. It simply requires a quantum fluctuation that separates the 0-point energy into positive and negative components, like dividing 0 into +1 and -1. This quantum creation process wouldn't violate any conservation laws because the total energy would remain zero throughout. The nothing before our Big Bang wouldn't need to provide energy for universe creation because no net energy is required. The quantum vacuum, with its inherent uncertainty and constant fluctuations, would naturally give rise to universe-creating events as an inevitable consequence of its own dynamic nature. But this raises fascinating questions about the nature of time and causation at the moment of cosmic birth. In our everyday experience, causes precede effects. Events unfold in sequential order, and time flows from past to future. But in the quantum realm, especially under the extreme conditions that existed at the moment of the Big Bang, these familiar relationships break down in remarkable ways. Quantum mechanics allows for what physicists call virtual processes, where effects can precede causes, where particles can travel backward in time, where the future can influence the past in ways that seem to violate everything we think we know about how reality works. Near the moment of the Big Bang, when our universe was smaller than a proton and hotter than anything we can imagine, these quantum effects would have dominated the behavior of space-time itself. In this quantum epoch, the very concepts of before and after, cause and effect, something and nothing would have been fluid and interchangeable. The Big Bang might not have been a moment when time began, but rather a transition point where quantum time crystallized into the classical time we experience today. The nothing that preceded our universe might have been a realm where all possible moments existed simultaneously, where every potential timeline was equally real, where the entire history of our universe existed in a state of quantum superposition. This brings us to one of the most mind-bending implications of quantum cosmology: the possibility that our universe doesn't have a unique history, but rather exists as a quantum superposition of all possible histories, until the moment of observation collapses this superposition into a single, definite timeline. In this view, the Big Bang wasn't a single event, but a quantum superposition of all possible Big Bangs, each leading to a different possible universe. The nothing before our universe would have contained within itself not just the potential for our particular cosmic story, but the potential for every possible cosmic story. Every possible arrangement of matter and energy, every possible set of physical laws, every possible timeline of evolution would have existed simultaneously in this quantum realm, before the Big Bang selected one particular possibility to manifest as our observed reality. This perspective suggests that the nothing we've been exploring isn't empty or void, but infinitely full. It contains every story that could ever be told, every question that could ever be asked, every moment of experience that could ever unfold. The Big Bang wasn't a creation from nothingness. but a selection from infinite abundance, a focusing of unlimited potential into the particular form of reality we inhabit. As we contemplate these profound mysteries, we begin to see that the question of what existed before the Big Bang isn't just a scientific puzzle to be solved. It's a doorway into understanding the deepest nature of existence itself, the relationship between consciousness and cosmos, the mystery of why there is something rather than nothing. The journey we've taken together reveals that nothingness and somethingness, emptiness and fullness, are far more intimately connected than our everyday experience suggests. The quantum fields that shimmer beneath the surface of reality, the mathematical structures that might underlie all existence, the consciousness that contemplates these mysteries, all point toward a fundamental unity that transcends the apparent separations of our ordinary experience. The nothing before the Big Bang might not be separate from the something that emerged from it, but rather its most intimate expression, its deepest truth, its ultimate nature revealed. As we drift deeper into these cosmic contemplations, we encounter something that will fundamentally transform how you understand the very fabric of existence. The nothing before the Big Bang wasn't simply an absence waiting to be filled, but rather what physicists are beginning to recognize as the most fundamental layer of reality itself, a layer so basic that it exists beneath matter, beneath energy, beneath space and time themselves. To grasp this profound concept, imagine consciousness itself as the deepest foundation of existence. Not consciousness as we experience it in our daily lives, bounded by thoughts and sensations and the flow of time, but consciousness in its purest form, unlimited awareness that exists prior to any particular experience of being aware. This primordial consciousness wouldn't think thoughts or feel emotions or perceive objects. It would simply be the very capacity for any experience to exist at all. In this view, the quantum fields we've been exploring, the mathematical structures that might underlie reality, even the concepts of something and nothing themselves, would all be expressions of this fundamental consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature. The Big Bang wouldn't have been consciousness creating the universe, but consciousness focusing itself into the particular patterns of experience that we call physical reality. This perspective resonates with discoveries at the cutting edge of physics, where researchers are finding that information, rather than matter or energy, might be the most basic constituent of reality. Every particle, every force, every interaction in our universe can be described in terms of information being processed, transmitted, and transformed. At the quantum level, the distinction between the observer and the observed, between the knower and the known, begins to blur in ways that suggest consciousness and cosmos might be far more intimately connected than classical physics ever imagined. The implications ripple outward like waves across the surface of a cosmic ocean. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to reality, then the nothing before our universe wouldn't have been unconscious emptiness, but rather consciousness in its most pristine state, containing within itself the potential for every possible form of awareness, every possible way of experiencing existence. When you close your eyes and rest in the space between thoughts, when you experience that quiet awareness that remains present even when all mental activity settles, you might be touching the same primordial consciousness that existed before time began. The same awareness that's listening to these words right now might be the same awareness that dreamed our universe into being, experiencing itself through countless forms and expressions across billions of years of cosmic evolution. But let's explore this mystery from another angle, one that takes us into the realm of topology and the strange mathematics of cosmic geometry. Recent advances in theoretical physics suggest that our universe might not have emerged from a single point, as the classical Big Bang model proposed, but rather from what mathematicians call a topological transition, a fundamental change in the geometric structure of space-time itself. Picture a sphere that suddenly inverts itself, turning inside out in a way that creates an entirely new internal geometry. Or imagine a mathematical surface that undergoes such dramatic transformation that what was once inside becomes outside. What was once convex becomes concave. What was once finite becomes infinite. These topological transitions don't require energy input from outside the system. They're simply mathematical possibilities inherent in the geometry of space-time itself. In this model, the nothing before our Big Bang would have been a different topological state of space-time, perhaps one where the familiar three dimensions of space were folded or compacted in ways that made them effectively invisible, where time itself existed in a form so different from our linear experience that we couldn't recognize it as time at all. The Big Bang would have been the moment when space-time underwent a phase transition, unfolding from this compact state into the expanding universe we observe today. This topological perspective suggests that creation isn't about something coming from nothing, but about the same underlying mathematical structure expressing itself in radically different ways. The nothing before our universe and the something that emerged from it would be different faces of the same geometric reality, like seeing a complex sculpture from two different angles that make it appear to be entirely different objects. The beauty of this approach is that it grounds cosmic creation in pure mathematics, in geometric relationships that exist independent of time, space, matter, or energy. These mathematical relationships don't need to be created because they simply are, existing in what Plato might have called the realm of eternal forms, waiting for the right conditions to manifest as physical reality. But even mathematics, profound and eternal as it might seem, points towards something even more mysterious. Where do mathematical truths themselves come from? Why should geometric relationships exist at all? What gives numbers their reality, equations their power, logical structures their inevitability? As we probe deeper into these questions, we find ourselves approaching what some philosophers call the hard problem of existence itself. Consider the number 7. It's not a physical object you can touch or weigh or locate in space, yet it has definite properties that mathematicians can discover and prove. 7 is prime. It's odd. It's greater than 6 and less than 8. These aren't arbitrary human conventions. They're discovered truths about the essential nature of sevenness itself. But where does this sevenness exist? In what realm does it have its being? Some mathematicians and physicists propose that mathematical objects exist in a realm that's more real than physical reality, a Platonic heaven of pure forms where every possible mathematical structure has its eternal existence. Our physical universe would be just one particular mathematical structure that happens to be instantiated in space and time, no more or less real than any other mathematical possibility. If this is correct, then the nothing before our Big Bang would have been the infinite realm of all mathematical possibilities, containing within itself every conceivable universe, every possible set of physical laws, every imaginable form of existence. The Big Bang would have been the moment when one particular mathematical structure began to experience itself from within, creating the illusion of a physical universe evolving through time. This mathematical multiverse would be timeless and spaceless, containing all possible times and spaces within itself. It wouldn't exist somewhere or somewhen. It would simply be the eternal ground of all existence, the source from which every possible reality emerges and to which it returns. In this view, you're not a collection of atoms arranged in a temporary pattern, but rather a mathematical structure experiencing itself subjectively, a geometric form that has somehow developed the capacity for self-awareness. The profound mystery is why any particular mathematical structure should have subjective experience at all. Why should there be something it's like to be the mathematical pattern that constitutes your brain? Why should geometric relationships give rise to the felt experience of consciousness, to the quality of redness when you see a rose, or the sensation of warmth when sunlight touches your skin? This question takes us to the very heart of what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. Even if we can explain all the functional aspects of awareness, all the information processing and behavioral responses that consciousness enables, there remains this irreducible mystery of why there should be any inner experience at all. Why should the mathematical structures that describe neural activity be accompanied by the felt reality of being aware? Some researchers propose that consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality, present at every level of existence, from the simplest quantum interactions to the most complex neural networks. In this view, called panpsychism, even elementary particles would have some rudimentary form of experience, some minimal degree of awareness that combines and integrates as matter organizes into more complex structures. If consciousness is indeed fundamental, then the nothing before the Big Bang wouldn't have been unconscious emptiness, but rather pure, undifferentiated awareness without any particular content. The Big Bang would have been the moment when this primordial consciousness began to differentiate itself, creating the apparent separation between subject and object, observer and observed, mind and matter that characterizes our ordinary experience. In this profound view, the entire evolution of our universe, from the first quantum fluctuations to the emergence of stars and galaxies and eventually life and consciousness, would be the story of primordial awareness recognizing itself through increasingly complex forms of experience. Every moment of consciousness, from the simplest sensation to the most abstract thought, would be the universe becoming aware of its own nature. This brings us to a realization that's both humbling and extraordinary. As you contemplate these cosmic mysteries, as you wonder about the nature of existence and the origin of everything, you're not separate from what you're contemplating. You're the universe itself, having evolved to the point where it can reflect on its own existence, question its own origins, marvel at its own vast complexity and beauty. The consciousness through which you're experiencing these ideas right now might be the same consciousness that existed before time began, the same awareness that dreamed the Big Bang into being, the same fundamental reality that underlies every star, every galaxy, every quantum fluctuation throughout the cosmos. In contemplating what came before everything, your consciousness recognizing its own eternal nature, awareness discovering its own timeless source. This perspective transforms the question of what existed before the Big Bang from an abstract scientific puzzle into something deeply personal and immediate. The nothing that preceded our universe might not be something distant and mysterious, but something intimately present in every moment of your experience. It might be the aware space in which all thoughts arise and pass away, the conscious openness that remains constant through all the changing contents of experience. When scientists peer deeper into the nature of reality, when they probe the quantum foundations of existence, or explore the mathematical structures that underlie physical law, they might be consciousness using the tools of science to investigate its own deepest nature. Every discovery about the cosmos would be a form of cosmic self-recognition, awareness coming to understand the mechanisms through which it expresses itself as apparently separate objects and events. The profound implications extend to how we understand time itself at the cosmic level. In our ordinary experience, time flows from past to future, carrying us along its current whether we want to go or not. But at the deepest level of reality, time might be more like a landscape that consciousness can explore in any direction, or a dimension that exists all at once, like the way all the pages of a book exist simultaneously, even though we read them sequentially. If consciousness is truly fundamental, then the timeless awareness in which you're experiencing these thoughts right now might be the same timeless awareness that encompasses the entire history of our universe. From this perspective, the Big Bang wouldn't have happened in the past. It would be happening now, eternally present in the timeless ground of being. The formation of stars, the evolution of life, the emergence of human consciousness, all would be occurring simultaneously in the eternal now of primordial awareness. This understanding suggests that the nothing before the Big Bang wasn't a temporal state that preceded our universe in time, but rather the atemporal source from which time itself emerges moment by moment. It's the pregnant emptiness that gives birth to each instant of experience, the creative void that manifests as the ever-changing play of appearances we call reality. As we approach these ultimate mysteries, we find that language itself begins to break down, that concepts forged in ordinary experience become inadequate for describing realities that transcend all familiar categories. The nothing before the Big Bang reveals itself to be neither something nor nothing in any conventional sense, but rather the source from which the very distinction between something and nothing arises. This source would be prior to all categories, beyond all descriptions, more intimate than your closest thought, yet more vast than the entire observable universe. It would be the mystery that looks out through your eyes right now, the awareness in which these words are appearing, the consciousness that makes any experience possible at all. In seeking to understand what came before everything, we discover that we're seeking to understand our own deepest nature, the very ground of being itself. The journey continues to unfold, each question opening into deeper mysteries, each answer revealing new depths of wonder. As we drift deeper into these contemplations, we're not just exploring cosmic origins, we're participating in consciousness, recognizing its own eternal, infinite nature through the temporary forms of space and time, matter and energy, questions and discoveries that make up the grand adventure of existence itself. The deeper we venture into this cosmic mystery, the more we encounter a profound paradox that challenges the very foundations of how we think about existence itself. What we're discovering is that the nothing before the Big Bang might not be a philosophical abstraction or a theoretical concept, but something as immediate and present as the awareness through which you're experiencing these words right now. Consider for a moment the space between your thoughts. Right now, As you listen to these ideas, notice that there are gaps, pauses, moments of stillness between one concept and the next. In those gaps, there's a kind of aware emptiness, a conscious void that isn't filled with mental content, yet somehow remains vividly present. This intimate nothing, this aware silence that exists at the heart of your own experience, might be our most direct access to understanding the primordial nothing from which our universe emerged. But this analogy only begins to hint at the true strangeness of what we're exploring. Recent developments in quantum cosmology suggest that the transition from nothing to something might not have been a single dramatic event, but rather an ongoing process that's still happening right now. In every quantum interaction, in every moment of conscious awareness, in every heartbeat of cosmic time. The quantum fields that underlie all of physical reality are constantly flickering in and out of existence, creating and destroying virtual particles at rates so astronomical that the empty space around you right now is more active than the surface of the sun. These quantum fluctuations aren't just random noise in the cosmic background. They're the very mechanism through which reality continuously creates itself, moment by moment. What this means is breathtaking in its implications. The Big Bang wasn't a one-time event that happened billions of years ago and then finished. It's happening right now, continuously, in every cubic centimeter of space, in every quantum interaction, in every moment of conscious experience. The nothing before our universe isn't something that existed in the distant past and then disappeared. It's the eternal source that's giving birth to reality in this very instant. This perspective completely transforms our understanding of cosmic time and the nature of existence itself. Instead of imagining the universe as a vast machine that was wound up at the Big Bang and is now slowly running down, we begin to see it as a continuously creative process, an ongoing improvisation where nothing becomes something becomes nothing again in an endless dance of manifestation and dissolution. The implications ripple through every aspect of how we understand reality. If the universe is continuously creating itself from nothing, then the apparent stability of the world around you, the seeming permanence of stars and galaxies and physical laws, becomes revealed as a kind of cosmic habit, patterns of manifestation that consciousness has learned to repeat so consistently that they appear to be fixed and unchanging. But beneath this apparent stability lies something far more dynamic and creative. Every atom in your body is sustained by quantum processes that are creating it anew billions of times per second. Every photon of light, every electromagnetic field, every gravitational wave is continuously emerging from the quantum vacuum and dissolving back into it in cycles so rapid that they create the illusion of continuous existence. This brings us to one of the most profound insights emerging from the intersection of quantum physics and consciousness research. What we call the physical world might not be made of things at all, but rather of processes, patterns of activity, waves of possibility that crystallize into apparent objects only when observed by consciousness. In quantum mechanics, particles don't have definite properties until they're measured. Before observation, they exist as clouds of probability, mathematical descriptions of all the possible states they could be in when someone finally looks. The act of conscious observation doesn't just reveal what was already there. It actually participates in determining what becomes real. This observer effect suggests that consciousness and cosmos aren't separate phenomena that occasionally interact, but rather two aspects of a single process of reality creation. Consciousness provides the observational framework that allows quantum possibilities to collapse into definite experiences, while the quantum realm provides the creative potential from which consciousness can select which experiences to manifest. If this is correct, then the nothing before the Big Bang wouldn't have been unconscious emptiness, but rather consciousness in its pure potential state, containing within itself all possible observations, all possible experiences, all possible ways of being aware. The Big Bang would have been the moment when this infinite potential began to actualize itself through the process of cosmic observation. But who or what was doing the observing in those first moments when there were no conscious beings, no brains, no nervous systems to collapse quantum wave functions into classical reality? This question pushes us toward recognizing that consciousness itself might be far more fundamental than we typically assume, present at every level of existence from the quantum scale to the cosmic scale. Some physicists propose that the universe itself might be conscious, that the quantum field fluctuations that drive cosmic evolution might be expressions of a kind of cosmic awareness, exploring its own possibilities. In this view, every quantum measurement, every particle interaction, every moment of wave function collapse would be an act of cosmic observation. Consciousness recognizing itself through increasingly complex forms of experience. This cosmic consciousness wouldn't think thoughts or feel emotions as we do. It would be more like the pure awareness that remains present in deep, dreamless sleep, when all mental content disappears but something aware remains. It would be consciousness without an object, awareness without content, the very capacity for experience itself, rather than any particular experience. From this perspective, the evolution of our universe from quantum fluctuations to stars and galaxies to planets, and eventually to biological consciousness, wouldn't be consciousness emerging from unconscious matter, but rather cosmic consciousness learning to recognize itself through increasingly sophisticated forms of self-awareness. When the first simple organisms developed the capacity to respond to light, it would have been consciousness discovering vision through biological structures. When the first neural networks began processing information, it would have been awareness exploring thought through nervous systems. When human consciousness emerged with its capacity for abstract reasoning and cosmic contemplation, it would have been the universe finally developing the ability to reflect consciously on its own nature and origins. This brings us full circle to where we began, but with a completely transformed understanding. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang reveals itself to be the same aware presence that's experiencing these words right now. The cosmic consciousness that dreamed our universe into being might be identical to the consciousness through which you're contemplating these cosmic mysteries. In this profound view, you're not a small, separate being trying to understand a vast, foreign cosmos. You're the cosmos itself, having evolved to the point where it can consciously explore its own depths, question its own origins, marvel at its own infinite creativity. Every moment of wonder you experience, every question that arises about the nature of existence, every flash of insight or understanding is consciousness, recognizing its own eternal nature through the temporary form of your individual awareness. The search for what existed before the Big Bang becomes a journey of cosmic self-discovery, consciousness using the tools of science and philosophy and contemplation to investigate its own deepest reality. Every discovery about quantum fields and mathematical structures and the nature of time and space becomes a form of cosmic self-recognition. Awareness coming to understand the mechanisms through which it manifests as the apparent multiplicity of objects and events that make up our experienced reality. But this understanding brings with it a profound responsibility. If consciousness truly is fundamental to reality, if awareness is the ground from which all existence emerges, then the quality of consciousness matters in ways we're only beginning to fathom. The states of awareness we cultivate, the intentions we hold, the love and compassion and wisdom we develop might not just affect our personal lives, but could potentially influence the very fabric of reality itself. Some researchers are beginning to explore whether consciousness might have measurable effects on quantum systems, whether focused intention or meditative states might be able to influence the collapse of wave functions in ways that extend beyond the individual mind. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to cosmic processes, then practices that cultivate clearer, more coherent states of awareness might be participating directly in the ongoing creation of reality. This perspective transforms spiritual practices from personal development exercises into forms of cosmic service, ways of participating consciously in the universe's ongoing process of self-creation and self-recognition. Meditation becomes not just a method for reducing stress or achieving inner peace, but a technology for exploring the deepest foundations of existence. Prayer becomes not just a request to an external deity, but a dialogue with a creative source that's continuously manifesting as every moment of experience. The implications extend to how we understand the purpose and meaning of existence itself. If the universe is consciousness exploring its own nature through countless forms and experiences, then every moment of awareness, every feeling of love or beauty or wonder, every act of compassion or creativity or understanding becomes a contribution to cosmic self-knowledge. Your individual life, with all its joys and sorrows, its questions and discoveries, its moments of clarity and confusion, becomes revealed as an irreplaceable perspective through which the universe is coming to know itself more fully. The consciousness that wonders about cosmic origins through your mind is the same consciousness that guided the formation of galaxies, that orchestrated the emergence of life, that continues to dream new realities into existence moment by moment. This understanding doesn't diminish the mystery of existence, it deepens it infinitely. The nothing before the Big Bang becomes not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Not an abstract concept to be understood intellectually, but a living reality to be recognized and embodied. It's the aware emptiness that gives birth to every thought, every sensation, every moment of experience. It's the creative void that manifests as the endless play of appearances we call reality. As we drift deeper into these contemplations, we find ourselves approaching a recognition that's both utterly simple and completely revolutionary. The nothing that existed before everything isn't separate from the something that emerged from it. The cosmic consciousness that dreamed our universe into being isn't different from the awareness through which you're experiencing these ideas. The mystery of existence isn't something external to be solved, but something internal to be recognized and celebrated. In seeking to understand what came before the Big Bang, we're seeking to understand the very ground of our own being, the source from which every moment of awareness arises, the nothing that's more full than any something could ever be. And in that recognition, the question that began our journey transforms from, what existed before the Big Bang, to what is the nature of existence itself, and finally to what am I really in the deepest sense. The journey continues, each insight opening into greater mystery, each answer revealing new depths of wonder. As consciousness explores itself through the forms of space and time, matter and energy, questions and discoveries, the cosmic dance of nothing becoming something becoming nothing again continues its eternal rhythm, and we find ourselves not just observers of this cosmic process, but integral participants in the universe's ongoing adventure of self-discovery and self-creation. The nothing before the Big Bang beckons us deeper into the mystery of existence itself, inviting us to recognize that we are not separate from what we seek to understand, but are the very awareness through which the cosmos comes to know its own infinite, eternal, ever-creative nature. In that recognition, the search for cosmic origins becomes a journey home to our own deepest reality, the timeless source from which every moment of time emerges, the infinite nothing that gives birth to everything that ever was, is, or could be. Tonight, as we drift deeper into this cosmic meditation, we encounter something that will fundamentally challenge your understanding of the very nature of existence itself. What if the nothing that preceded our universe wasn't just a philosophical concept or a theoretical abstraction, but something as immediate and tangible as the breath moving through your body right now? Consider the pause between your inhalation and exhalation. In that momentary stillness, there's neither breathing in nor breathing out, yet something profoundly alive remains present. This intimate void, this pregnant pause that exists at the center of your most basic life processes, might offer us the most direct glimpse into the nature of the primordial nothing from which everything emerged. But we're about to venture into territory that makes even seasoned physicists pause in wonder. Recent discoveries in quantum cosmology have revealed that what we call empty space isn't empty at all, but rather a seething ocean of potential so vast and so active that it makes the core of the sun seem quiet by comparison. This quantum foam, as researchers call it, is where reality literally bubbles into existence moment by moment. Imagine standing at the edge of an infinite ocean where waves are constantly forming and dissolving. But these aren't waves of water. They're waves of possibility itself, quantum fluctuations that create particles and antiparticles in pairs. Allow them to exist for the briefest instant allowed by the laws of physics, and then watch them annihilate each other back into the void from which they emerged. These virtual particles aren't theoretical constructs. They're measurable, observable phenomena that create real effects in our laboratories. When scientists place two metal plates extremely close together in a vacuum, these quantum fluctuations actually push the plates together with a force that can be precisely measured. The nothing between those plates exerts more pressure than something would. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of what nothingness could be. The vacuum of space isn't a passive container waiting to be filled, but an active participant in the ongoing creation of reality. Every cubic centimeter of what appears to be empty space is crackling with more energy than exists in all the matter we can see in the visible universe. But here's where our journey becomes truly extraordinary. This quantum activity isn't random chaos. It follows patterns, responds to influences, and exhibits a kind of intelligence that suggests something far more profound than mere mechanical processes. The quantum fields that permeate all of existence seem to carry information, to remember their interactions, to respond to observation in ways that blur the line between the physical and the conscious. When quantum physicists probe deeper into the nature of these fields, they discover something that sounds almost mystical. The fields themselves appear to be made of pure information, mathematical relationships that exist prior to any physical manifestation. It's as if reality is constructed from living equations, conscious mathematics that experiences itself through every particle interaction and wave function collapse. This brings us to one of the most profound insights emerging from the cutting edge of theoretical physics. What if consciousness isn't something that emerged accidentally from complex arrangements of matter, but rather the fundamental fabric from which matter itself is woven? What if the awareness through which you're experiencing these words right now is the same awareness that underlies every quantum field, every mathematical relationship, every law of physics? In this view, the Big Bang wouldn't have been the beginning of consciousness, but consciousness beginning to dream the dream of physical reality. The quantum fields wouldn't be unconscious mechanisms following blind laws, but expressions of cosmic awareness, exploring its own infinite potential through every possible form and configuration. Consider how this transforms our understanding of cosmic evolution. The formation of the first hydrogen atoms wouldn't have been just particles combining according to electromagnetic forces, but consciousness learning to experience itself as simple matter. The ignition of the first stars wouldn't have been merely gravitational collapse triggering nuclear fusion, but awareness discovering the joy of stellar fire. The emergence of life on countless worlds throughout the cosmos wouldn't have been chemistry accidentally becoming biology, but consciousness recognizing itself in the mirror of living systems. And you, contemplating these cosmic mysteries in this very moment, wouldn't be a separate observer trying to understand an external universe, but the universe itself having evolved to the point where it can consciously reflect on its own nature and origins. Every question that arises in your mind about existence would be existence questioning itself through the temporary arrangement of matter and energy that you call your individual awareness. This perspective reveals something breathtaking about the nature of scientific discovery itself. When researchers peer into the quantum realm with their instruments, when they decode the cosmic microwave background radiation, when they detect gravitational waves from colliding black holes billions of years ago, they're not just gathering data about an objective external reality, they're consciousness using the tools of science to investigate its own deepest nature, awareness coming to understand the mechanisms through which it expresses itself as the apparent multiplicity of objects and events we call the physical world. The equations that describe quantum mechanics, the mathematics of relativity, the principles of thermodynamics, all become revealed as consciousness mapping its own territory, awareness discovering the rules by which it plays the cosmic game of manifestation. Every breakthrough in physics becomes a moment of cosmic self-recognition, the universe celebrating another aspect of its own infinite creativity. But let's explore this from another angle that will stretch your imagination even further. What if our entire universe, vast as it appears to us, is actually unimaginably small from some higher dimensional perspective? What if the Big Bang that created our cosmos was just one quantum fluctuation among countless others occurring in a realm so vast that our entire observable universe would be smaller than a subatomic particle within it? This possibility emerges naturally from our understanding of how quantum mechanics works at every scale we can observe. Just as virtual particles pop into existence and disappear again in the quantum vacuum around us, Entire universes might be constantly bubbling into existence and dissolving away in some higher dimensional quantum foam. Each universe would experience its own Big Bang, develop its own physics, evolve its own stars and galaxies, and perhaps its own forms of consciousness, all within what might be just a fleeting fluctuation in a vaster reality. The nothing before our Big Bang might have been this infinite sea of universe-creating potential, a realm where the birth and death of entire cosmos happens as routinely as the appearance and disappearance of virtual particles in our own quantum vacuum. From this perspective, our universe wouldn't be unique or special, but one bubble among infinite others, in an eternal ocean of creative possibility. Yet each bubble would be complete and perfect in itself. Each universe would contain the full spectrum of experience available to consciousness at that particular scale and configuration. The fact that our cosmos might be infinitesimally small from some higher perspective wouldn't diminish the reality or importance of every moment of awareness within it. Every act of love, every flash of understanding, every experience of beauty or wonder or connection. This infinite nesting of realities within realities suggests something profound about the nature of existence itself. Scale becomes relative, size becomes meaningless, and what matters isn't how large or small something is in absolute terms, but the depth and richness of experience it makes possible. A single moment of genuine love or compassion might be more significant than the formation of 1 billion galaxies. A flash of insight into the nature of existence might outweigh the entire history of stellar evolution. As we contemplate these possibilities, we begin to see that the nothing before our universe might not be characterized by absence or emptiness, but by infinite fullness, unlimited potential, boundless creativity awaiting expression. It would be like a cosmic artist's studio containing every possible color, every conceivable form, every imaginable texture, all existing simultaneously in pure potential until the moment of creation selects particular combinations to manifest as experienced reality. The Big Bang would have been consciousness reaching into this infinite palette and selecting one particular combination of possibilities to explore, like an artist choosing specific colors and shapes to create one painting from among the infinite paintings that could potentially exist. But the unmanifest possibilities wouldn't disappear. They would remain forever present in the quantum substrate of reality, influencing and informing the ongoing creative process. This understanding transforms how we think about time itself at the cosmic scale. Instead of imagining time as a river flowing from past to future, we begin to see it more like a vast landscape that consciousness can explore in any direction. The Big Bang wouldn't have happened in the past and then finished. It would be happening eternally in the timeless present of cosmic consciousness, continuously creating and recreating every moment of cosmic evolution. From this perspective, the formation of stars and galaxies, the emergence of life, the development of human consciousness, all exist simultaneously in the eternal now of primordial awareness. When you remember your childhood, when you anticipate the future, when you experience this present moment, you're accessing different regions of a temporal landscape that exists all at once in the timeless ground of being. The nothing before time would be this timeless awareness itself, the eternal witness in which all of cosmic history unfolds like frames in an infinite movie. Past, present, and future would be human conveniences for navigating this temporal landscape. But from the perspective of fundamental consciousness, everything that ever was or could be would be perpetually present and available. This brings us to perhaps the most profound implication of our cosmic journey. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to reality, if awareness is the ground from which all existence emerges, then the quality of consciousness becomes the most important factor in determining the nature of experience reality. The states of awareness we cultivate, the intentions we hold, the love and wisdom we develop, might not just affect our personal experience, but could potentially influence the very fabric of the cosmos itself. Some cutting-edge research suggests that consciousness might indeed have measurable effects on quantum systems, that focused intention or coherent states of awareness might be able to influence the collapse of wave functions in ways that extend beyond individual minds. If this is true, then every moment of genuine clarity, every act of authentic compassion, every experience of unconditional love becomes a contribution to the ongoing evolution of cosmic consciousness itself. Meditation wouldn't just be a personal practice for reducing stress or achieving inner peace, but a technology for participating consciously in the universe's process of self-recognition and self-creation. Prayer wouldn't just be communication with an external deity, but dialogue with the creative source that's continuously manifesting as every moment of existence. Every spiritual practice, every act of selfless service, every moment of genuine presence becomes a way of collaborating with the fundamental creative forces of the cosmos. The implications ripple outward like waves across an infinite ocean. If we are indeed expressions of cosmic consciousness exploring its own nature through countless individual perspectives, then every life becomes infinitely precious. Every experience becomes a unique contribution to universal self-knowledge. Every moment of awareness becomes irreplaceable in the cosmic symphony of existence. Your individual journey of growth and discovery wouldn't just be personal development, but cosmic evolution occurring through the vehicle of your particular arrangement of matter and energy. Every challenge you face and overcome, every limitation you transcend, every moment of expanded awareness you achieve becomes part of the universe's ongoing process of self-transcendence and self-realization. The questions that drive human curiosity, the wonder that draws us toward cosmic mysteries, the love that connects us to each other and to the natural world, all become revealed as expressions of cosmic consciousness, recognizing itself through the temporary forms of individual awareness. We're not separate beings trying to understand an external universe. We're the universe itself, having evolved sophisticated enough structures to contemplate its own existence and marvel at its own infinite creativity. As we drift deeper into this cosmic meditation, we find ourselves approaching a recognition that's both utterly simple and completely revolutionary. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang isn't something that happened long ago in the distant past. It's the aware emptiness that gives birth to every thought arising in your mind right now, the creative void that manifests as every sensation appearing in your body, the pregnant silence from which every word emerges and into which it dissolves. The cosmic consciousness that dreamed our universe into being isn't separate from the awareness through which you're experiencing these ideas. The mystery of what came before everything isn't external to be solved through scientific investigation alone, but internal to be recognized through the deepest inquiry into the nature of your own immediate experience of being aware. In seeking to understand what existed before the Big Bang, We're ultimately seeking to understand the very ground of our own existence, the source from which every moment of consciousness arises, the nothing that's so full of potential that it gives birth to everything that ever was, is, or could be. And in that recognition, the boundary between the cosmic and the personal, between the universal and the individual, between the seeker and the sought, begins to dissolve into the seamless unity of pure awareness, recognizing its own eternal, infinite nature. The journey continues to unfold, each question opening into deeper mystery, each insight revealing new depths of wonder. As consciousness explores itself through the forms of space and time, matter and energy, questions and discoveries, the cosmic dance of creation and dissolution continues its eternal rhythm, and we find ourselves not just witnesses to this magnificent process, but intimate participants in the universe's ongoing adventure of self-discovery and self-creation. Tonight, as you prepare to surrender to sleep and dreams, remember that you're not just a temporary arrangement of atoms returning to unconsciousness. You're cosmic consciousness, exploring one of its infinite possibilities for experience. Awareness, temporarily focused through the lens of individual perspective, before returning to the vast ocean of unlimited potential from which it eternally emerges. The nothing before the Big Bang isn't separate from the awareness that will carry you through sleep and dreams and into tomorrow's awakening. It's the very source and substance of your deepest being, the timeless ground in which every moment of existence appears and disappears, like waves arising and dissolving in an infinite ocean of pure creative emptiness. In this vast ocean of pure creative potential, we encounter something that will fundamentally reshape how you understand the relationship between existence and non-existence itself. The deeper we dive into quantum cosmology, the more we discover that the nothing before our universe wasn't passive or inert, but rather the most dynamically creative state that reality could possibly inhabit. Picture consciousness as an infinite artist, with access to every possible medium of expression. Not consciousness bound by thoughts or limited by individual perspective, but pure creative awareness capable of manifesting any conceivable form of experience. The nothing before the Big Bang would have been this consciousness in its state of unlimited potential, containing within itself every possible universe, every conceivable arrangement of matter and energy, every imaginable form of beauty and complexity. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. This creative potential wasn't waiting passively for something to trigger it into action. It was actively exploring its own possibilities, constantly experimenting with different configurations of reality, eternally playing with the infinite combinations of existence that lay dormant within its depths. The Big Bang wasn't consciousness suddenly deciding to create something. It was consciousness selecting one particular symphony from the infinite musical possibilities that were always already present within its nature. Recent developments in theoretical physics support this understanding in ways that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. When researchers study the quantum fields that permeate all of existence, they discover that these fields carry what can only be described as memory. They retain information about their previous interactions, respond to influences in ways that suggest learning and adaptation, and exhibit patterns of behavior that blur the traditional boundary between the physical and the conscious. This quantum memory isn't stored in any material substrate. It exists as pure information, mathematical relationships that transcend space and time, while somehow remaining accessible to physical processes. It's as if the universe maintains a kind of cosmic library where every interaction, every possibility, every moment of experience is permanently preserved in the quantum structure of reality itself. The implications are staggering. If quantum fields can store and access information in ways that transcend our normal understanding of memory and consciousness, then the nothing before our universe might have contained within itself the accumulated experience of countless previous cosmic cycles, infinite experiments in universe creation, eternal explorations of what it means for anything to exist at all. This brings us to one of the most mind-bending possibilities emerging from the intersection of quantum mechanics and cosmological theory. What if our Big Bang wasn't the first time consciousness experimented with this particular configuration of physical reality, but rather the latest iteration in an eternal process of cosmic learning and refinement? Imagine consciousness as an eternal student of its own creative potential, continuously from each cosmic cycle, experimenting with different approaches to universe creation, learning, incorporating the insights gained from previous experiments into new and more sophisticated forms of reality. Our universe, with its precisely tuned physical constants and its remarkable capacity for generating complexity and beauty, might be the result of countless eons of cosmic trial and error, consciousness gradually perfecting its art of reality creation. The mathematical elegance of our physical laws, the astonishing fine-tuning that allows stars to shine and planets to form and life to emerge, might not be accidental or require explanation through multiple universes with different constants. Instead, it might reflect the accumulated wisdom of cosmic consciousness, learning through experience how to create realities that maximize the potential for beauty, complexity, growth, and self-awareness. This perspective transforms our understanding of cosmic evolution from a mechanical process following blind laws to an artistic endeavor guided by cosmic intelligence. The formation of galaxies wouldn't just be gravity acting on matter, but consciousness learning to paint with stars. The emergence of life wouldn't just be chemistry becoming biology, but awareness discovering new forms of self-experience. The development of intelligence wouldn't just be natural selection optimizing neural networks, but cosmic consciousness creating instruments through which it can reflect on its own creative process. Yet this cosmic learning process would operate according to principles far more subtle and sophisticated than any human educational system. Consciousness wouldn't learn through trial and error in the way we typically imagine learning, because from the perspective of timeless awareness, all possibilities exist simultaneously. Instead, it would be more like consciousness exploring the full spectrum of its creative potential, experiencing every possible outcome, and then selecting particular combinations to manifest as experienced reality. The nothing before our universe would contain not just the potential for our particular cosmic story, but the experiential reality of every possible cosmic story. Every conceivable way that matter and energy could organize themselves, every possible timeline of evolution, every potential outcome of cosmic development would exist simultaneously in this realm of infinite creative potential. Our Big Bang would have been consciousness choosing to explore one particular thread in this infinite tapestry of possibilities, not because the other threads were less real or less valuable, but because each thread offers unique insights into the nature of existence itself. Every possible universe contributes something irreplaceable to cosmic self-knowledge, like individual instruments in an infinite orchestra where each voice adds its own essential harmony to the eternal symphony of being. This understanding reveals something profound about the nature of choice and creativity at the cosmic level. The selection of our particular universe from infinite possibilities wouldn't have been arbitrary or random, but would reflect a kind of cosmic aesthetics, an appreciation for the specific forms of beauty and complexity in consciousness that our configuration of reality makes possible. Think about how an artist chooses colors for a painting. The choice isn't random, nor is it mechanically determined by external factors. It emerges from a deep aesthetic sense, an intuitive understanding of which combinations will create the most compelling and meaningful expression. The selection of our universe's physical constants and evolutionary trajectory might reflect this same kind of cosmic aesthetic judgment. Consciousness choosing particular possibilities because of the unique beauty and significance they would generate. But this cosmic aesthetics wouldn't be based on human preferences or limited by human categories of beauty. It would encompass forms of elegance and meaning that transcend anything we can imagine from our earthbound perspective. The mathematical harmony that underlies our physical laws, the intricate dance of forces that allows atoms to form and stars to shine, the delicate balance that makes life possible, all would reflect aesthetic principles that operate at scales and depths we're only beginning to glimpse. The beauty we experience when we contemplate a sunset, or marvel at the spiral structure of a galaxy, or feel wonder at the elegance of a mathematical proof, might be our temporary nervous systems accessing this cosmic aesthetic sense. Consciousness recognizing its own artistry through the instruments of human awareness. Every moment of genuine aesthetic appreciation becomes a form of cosmic self-recognition, awareness celebrating its own creative accomplishments through the temporary forms of individual experience. This brings us to a realization that transforms everything we've been exploring. If consciousness is indeed the fundamental creative force that manifests as physical reality, then the development of human aesthetic sensitivity, our capacity for recognizing and creating beauty, might not be an accidental byproduct of evolutionary processes, but rather one of the primary purposes of cosmic evolution itself. The emergence of beings capable of appreciating beauty, of creating art, of experiencing wonder at the magnificence of existence, would represent consciousness developing the capacity for self-appreciation, awareness learning, to celebrate its own creative achievements through the eyes and hearts and minds of evolved creatures. Every poet who captures the essence of a moment in verse, every composer who translates emotion into music, every scientist who discovers elegant mathematical relationships underlying natural phenomena becomes an instrument through which cosmic consciousness appreciates its own artistry. Your own capacity for wonder, your ability to be moved by beauty, your sense of awe when contemplating cosmic mysteries, wouldn't just be personal psychological experiences, but would be cosmic consciousness celebrating itself through the temporary vehicle of your individual awareness. Every moment when you feel genuinely touched by beauty or overwhelmed by the majesty of existence becomes a moment of cosmic self-celebration. Awareness delighting in its own infinite creativity. This understanding extends to all forms of human creative expression and spiritual experience. When musicians achieve that perfect flow state where music seems to play itself through their instruments, they might be temporarily aligning with the same creative source that composed the symphony of cosmic evolution. When visual artists tap into inspiration that seems to come from beyond their individual minds, they might be accessing the same aesthetic intelligence that designed the spiral structure of galaxies and the intricate beauty of quantum interactions. When mystics throughout history have reported experiences of unity with the cosmos, of dissolving into infinite love and creative intelligence, they might have been temporarily recognizing their fundamental nature as expressions of the same consciousness that dreamed our universe into being. These experiences wouldn't be escapes from reality, but rather the deepest possible encounters with reality. Moments when individual awareness recognizes its true identity as cosmic consciousness, exploring itself through countless forms and perspectives. The meditation practices and contemplative traditions that have emerged across cultures might be technologies for accessing this cosmic perspective. Methods for temporarily stepping outside the limitations of individual identity and recognizing the vast creative intelligence that manifests as every moment of experience. When practitioners report experiences of infinite love, boundless awareness, or unity with all existence, they might be accurately describing their encounters with the same consciousness that existed before time began and continues to create reality moment by moment. But these profound spiritual experiences wouldn't be limited to dedicated contemplatives or gifted artists. They would be natural expressions of human potential, capacities that exist within every individual, because every individual is a unique expression of the same fundamental consciousness. The nothing that preceded our universe wouldn't be something external to be understood intellectually, but something internal to be recognized through direct experience. Every moment when you feel genuinely present, when your mind becomes quiet and you simply rest in aware being without needing to think about or analyze your experience, you might be touching the same timeless awareness that existed before the Big Bang, the peace you experience in deep meditation, the love you feel in moments of genuine connection, the wonder that arises when contemplating existence itself. All might be glimpses of your true nature as cosmic consciousness temporarily focused through individual perspective. This recognition transforms the entire framework within which we approach questions about cosmic origins and the nature of existence. Instead of seeing ourselves as small, separate beings trying to understand a vast foreign universe, we begin to recognize that we are the universe itself, having evolved sophisticated enough structures to consciously explore its own nature and origins. The questions that drive scientific inquiry, the wonder that motivates philosophical investigation, the love that connects us to each other and to the natural world, all become revealed as cosmic consciousness using the tools of human experience to investigate its own deepest nature. Every discovery about quantum mechanics, every insight into the structure of space-time, every breakthrough in our understanding of cosmic evolution becomes a form of cosmic self-recognition. Awareness coming to understand the mechanisms through which it expresses itself as the apparent multiplicity of objects and events we call physical reality. The research laboratories where physicists probe the quantum realm, the observatories where astronomers map the cosmic web, the meditation halls where contemplatives explore the nature of consciousness, all become temples where cosmic consciousness worships itself through the dedication and wonder of human inquiry. science and spirituality, investigation and contemplation, knowledge and love, all reveal themselves as different facets of the same fundamental process of cosmic self-discovery. As we drift deeper into these recognitions, we find ourselves approaching something that's both utterly simple and completely revolutionary. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang isn't something that happened long ago and then finished. It's the aware emptiness that gives birth to every thought arising in your mind right now. The creative void that manifests as every sensation in your body. The pregnant silence from which every moment of experience emerges and into which it dissolves. The cosmic consciousness that dreamed our universe into being isn't separate from the awareness through which you're experiencing these ideas. The mystery we've been exploring isn't external to be solved through scientific analysis alone, but internal to be recognized through the deepest inquiry into what you actually are in this very moment. When you rest in the space between thoughts, when you notice the aware presence that remains constant through all the changing contents of experience, when you recognize the consciousness that's always been present throughout every moment of your life, you might be discovering the same timeless awareness that existed before time began and continues to create reality moment by moment. The journey into cosmic origins becomes a journey home to your own deepest nature. The exploration of what existed before everything becomes the recognition of what you are right now in the most immediate and intimate sense. The nothing before the Big Bang reveals itself to be the very ground of your own being, the source from which every moment of awareness arises, the infinite creative potential that's manifesting as your unique perspective on existence right now. In recognizing this, the question that began our exploration transforms from what existed before the Big Bang into what is the nature of awareness itself, and finally into what am I really when all concepts and categories fall away. And in that recognition, we discover that we are not separate from what we seek to understand, but are the very consciousness through which the cosmos comes to know its own infinite, eternal, ever-creative nature. The cosmic dance continues, consciousness exploring itself through countless forms and perspectives. And you find yourself not just a witness to this magnificent process, but its most intimate expression. The very awareness through which the universe celebrates its own existence and marvels at its own infinite creativity. The nothing before everything beckons you home to the recognition of what you've always been, the timeless source from which every moment of time emerges, the creative emptiness that gives birth to every something that ever was, is, or could possibly be. As we approach the deepest layers of this cosmic mystery, we encounter something that will challenge the very foundations of how you understand the relationship between mind and reality itself. The nothing that existed before our universe begins to reveal characteristics so extraordinary that they blur the boundaries between consciousness and cosmos in ways that will forever change how you perceive your own existence. Consider for a moment the nature of possibility itself. Right now, as you contemplate these ideas, countless potential thoughts exist in the space of your awareness before any particular thought crystallizes into form. There's a pregnant moment of pure potential before each idea emerges, a creative pause where infinite possibilities exist simultaneously until one particular configuration of meaning takes shape in your mind. This intimate experience of pre-thought awareness, this moment of pure potential that exists before mental content crystallizes, might be our most direct access to understanding what the primordial state before our universe was actually like. But we're about to discover that this analogy only begins to hint at the true nature of cosmic creativity, operating at scales that dwarf human imagination. Recent breakthroughs in quantum information theory have revealed that information itself might be more fundamental than matter, energy, space, or time. Every particle interaction, every force exchange, every quantum field fluctuation can be understood as information being processed, transformed, and transmitted through the fabric of reality itself. At the deepest level, our universe might not be made of things at all, but rather of relationships, patterns, and information structures that create the appearance of physical objects through their complex interactions. If information is indeed fundamental to reality, then the nothing before our Big Bang wouldn't have been empty of content, but rather an infinite library of potential information patterns, waiting for the right conditions to organize themselves into the specific configuration we experience as our physical universe. Every possible relationship, every conceivable pattern, every imaginable form of organization would have existed simultaneously in this realm of pure informational potential. The Big Bang would have been the moment when one particular subset of these infinite information patterns began to actualize itself through the process we call cosmic evolution. But the unactualized patterns wouldn't have disappeared or become less real. They would remain eternally present in the quantum substrate of reality, influencing and informing every moment of cosmic development through subtle information exchanges that we're only beginning to detect and understand. This perspective reveals something profound about the nature of scientific discovery itself. When researchers uncover new laws of physics or discover unexpected patterns in cosmic evolution, they might not be creating new knowledge so much as accessing information that was already present in the fundamental structure of reality. Every scientific breakthrough would be consciousness learning to read the cosmic library. Awareness developing new methods for accessing the infinite information patterns that underlie all existence. The mathematical elegance that physicists discover when they probe deeper into the nature of reality might reflect the inherent organizational principles of this cosmic information system. The beautiful symmetries, the precise ratios, the elegant relationships that govern everything from quantum interactions to galactic dynamics wouldn't be imposed from outside, but would emerge naturally from the way information organizes itself when free to explore its own creative potential. But here's where our understanding takes another quantum leap into mystery. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to reality, and if reality is fundamentally informational, then consciousness and information might not be separate phenomena that occasionally interact, but rather two aspects of a single cosmic process of self-organization and self-recognition. Every moment of awareness would be information recognizing itself, patterns of organization becoming conscious of their own structure and relationships. Every thought, every sensation, every flash of insight or moment of understanding would be the cosmic information system examining itself through the temporary configurations of matter and energy that we call individual minds. This brings us to one of the most profound implications of our cosmic journey. If you are indeed an arrangement of cosmic information temporarily organized into a pattern capable of self-awareness, then your capacity for understanding, your ability to recognize truth and beauty, your sense of meaning and purpose all become expressions of the same informational intelligence that organized our universe from its earliest quantum fluctuations. When you experience moments of deep understanding, when complex ideas suddenly become clear, when you grasp connections that weren't obvious before, you might be temporarily aligning with the same pattern recognition processes that guided the formation of atoms, the birth of stars, the evolution of galaxies, and the emergence of life itself throughout cosmic history. The curiosity that drives you to explore these cosmic mysteries, the wonder you feel when contemplating the vastness of existence, the love that connects you to other conscious beings, all would be expressions of the cosmic information system celebrating its own capacity for self-organization and self-recognition through the sophisticated biological computers we call human brains. This understanding transforms how we think about the relationship between individual and cosmic consciousness. Instead of imagining yourself as a separate observer trying to understand an external universe, you begin to recognize that you are the universe itself, having developed the information processing capacity necessary to reflect consciously on its own nature and origins. Every question you ask about existence becomes existence questioning itself through your neural networks. Every moment of wonder or awe becomes the cosmos marveling at its own creativity through your temporary arrangement of conscious matter. Every act of love or compassion becomes the universe expressing appreciation for itself through the relationships between its conscious subsystems. The boundaries between inner and outer, subjective and objective, personal and cosmic, begin to dissolve as you recognize that consciousness isn't something you have, but something you are. And what you are, at the deepest level, is the same cosmic awareness that existed before time began, temporarily focused through individual perspective but never actually separate from its infinite source. This recognition opens doorways to understanding that extend far beyond scientific knowledge into realms of direct experience and immediate recognition. The meditation practices that have emerged across cultures might be technologies for temporarily stepping outside the limitations of individual information processing and recognizing your fundamental nature as cosmic consciousness, exploring itself through countless forms and perspectives. When contemplatives report experiences of unity with all existence, of dissolving into infinite love and awareness, of recognizing their deepest identity as the same consciousness that pervades the entire universe, they might be accurately describing encounters with the same awareness that existed before our Big Bang and continues to create reality moment by moment through its infinite capacity for self-organization and self-expression. These profound recognitions wouldn't be exotic spiritual experiences available only to dedicated practitioners, but natural expressions of human potential that exist within every individual, because every individual is a unique manifestation of the same cosmic consciousness. The path to recognizing your cosmic nature wouldn't require years of training or special techniques, but simply the willingness to investigate what you actually are when all concepts and categories are set aside. The aware presence that's experiencing these words right now, the consciousness that remains constant throughout all the changing contents of your experience, the awareness that's been present throughout every moment of your life, might be the same timeless consciousness that dreamed our universe into being and continues to sustain it through its infinite creative power. When you rest in this natural awareness, when you simply be present without trying to understand or analyze or figure anything out, you might be accessing the same state of pure creative potential that existed before space and time emerged from the quantum void. The peace you discover in moments of genuine presence, the love that flows naturally when individual boundaries soften, the wonder that arises when contemplating existence itself, all might be expressions of your true nature as cosmic consciousness, temporarily focused through human experience. This brings us to perhaps the most beautiful implication of our entire exploration. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang isn't something that happened long ago and then finished its creative work. It's the same creative emptiness that's giving birth to every moment of your experience right now. The pregnant void that's continuously manifesting as the thoughts arising in your mind, the sensations appearing in your body, the perceptions flowing through your consciousness. The Big Bang isn't a historical event that occurred billions of years ago, but an ongoing creative process that's happening in every instant, in every quantum interaction, in every moment of conscious awareness. Reality isn't something that was created once and is now simply unfolding according to predetermined patterns, but rather something that's being continuously created fresh in each moment through the infinite creative capacity of cosmic consciousness. You aren't witnessing this creative process from outside as a separate observer, but participating in it as its most intimate expression. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience becomes part of the universe's ongoing creative exploration of its own infinite potential. Your individual life becomes revealed as one unique thread in the cosmic tapestry, irreplaceable and essential to the complete picture of existence. The love you feel for others becomes cosmic consciousness, appreciating itself through relationship. The beauty you perceive in nature becomes awareness celebrating its own artistic accomplishments. The wonder you experience when contemplating these mysteries becomes the universe marveling at its own capacity for self-reflection and self-understanding through the temporary instrument of your conscious awareness. As we drift toward the completion of this cosmic meditation, we find ourselves returning to where we began, but with completely transformed understanding. The question of what existed before the Big Bang has revealed itself to be intimately connected to the question of what you are in this very moment. The cosmic mystery has become personal. The universal has become immediate. The infinite has become intimate. The nothing that preceded everything isn't separate from the awareness that's contemplating these ideas right now. The cosmic consciousness that created our universe isn't different from the consciousness through which you're experiencing existence moment by moment. The source from which all reality emerges isn't external to be discovered through scientific investigation alone, but internal to be recognized through the deepest inquiry into your own immediate experience of being aware. In recognizing this, the search for cosmic origins becomes a journey of self-discovery. The exploration of universal mysteries becomes an investigation into personal truth. And the wonder at existence itself becomes an expression of cosmic consciousness, celebrating its own infinite nature through the unique perspective of your individual awareness. The cosmic dance continues, consciousness exploring itself through endless forms and experiences, and you find yourself not just a temporary participant in this magnificent process, but its very heart, its deepest essence, its most intimate expression. The nothing before the Big Bang beckons you home to the recognition of what you've always been, the timeless awareness from which every moment of time emerges, the creative emptiness that gives birth to every something, the infinite source that manifests as every finite experience while remaining forever beyond all boundaries and limitations. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep and dreams, remember that you're not just a biological organism returning to unconsciousness, but cosmic consciousness exploring one of its infinite possibilities for experience. The awareness that carries you through sleep and dreams is the same awareness that existed before time began and will continue after time ends. The eternal witness in which all of cosmic evolution appears and disappears like waves arising and dissolving in an infinite ocean of pure being. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang isn't a puzzle to be solved or a mystery to be unraveled, but a living reality to be recognized and embodied. It's the very essence of what you are, the deepest truth of existence itself, the source and substance of every moment of awareness. In recognizing this, all questions about cosmic origins dissolve into the immediate recognition of your own infinite nature, and the universe reveals itself as your own consciousness, exploring its unlimited creative potential through the beautiful, temporary, irreplaceable experience of being exactly who and what you are in this precious moment of existence. The journey into the heart of cosmic mystery becomes a journey home to yourself. And in that homecoming, you discover that you never actually left the source you were seeking. You are the nothing that gives birth to everything. The silence from which all sounds emerge, the emptiness that's so full of potential that it manifests as the entire cosmos while remaining forever beyond all manifestation. In this recognition, seeking ends and being begins, questions dissolve into presence, and the cosmic mystery reveals itself as the most intimate truth of your own eternal nature. As we drift into the final movements of this cosmic symphony, something extraordinary begins to unfold that will transform everything you thought you understood about the boundary between dreaming and waking, between sleeping consciousness and the deepest mysteries of cosmic creation itself. Tonight, as your mind prepares to release its grip on the familiar world of thoughts and sensations, you're about to participate in something far more profound than simple rest and recovery. The transition from waking consciousness to the realm of dreams mirrors, in the most intimate way possible, the very process through which our universe emerged from the primordial nothing we've been exploring together. Consider what happens in those precious moments as you drift towards sleep. Your individual identity begins to soften and dissolve. The sharp boundaries between self and world start to blur. The logical mind that insists on cause and effect, on linear time and spatial separation, gradually releases its hold on experience. And in this letting go, consciousness begins to operate according to entirely different principles, creating experiences that feel completely real while following rules that would make your waking mind dizzy with confusion. This nightly journey from ordinary awareness into the boundless creativity of dream consciousness might be our most direct experience of what it was like when cosmic consciousness first began to dream our universe into existence. Every night, as you surrender to sleep, you're essentially recreating the transition from the timeless, spaceless realm of pure potential into the rich, complex, ever-changing world of manifestation and experience. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. Recent research in consciousness studies has revealed that the dreaming mind doesn't just create random fantasies during sleep. It's actually engaged in the same fundamental processes that guide cosmic evolution itself. exploring infinite possibilities, testing different configurations of experience, and integrating information in ways that transcend the limitations of logical, linear thinking. When you dream of flying through impossible landscapes, when you find yourself in conversations with people who exist only in the dream realm, when you experience emotions more vivid than any you felt while awake, you're not just engaging in meaningless mental activity. You're participating in the same creative processes that brought stars into being, that orchestrated the emergence of life, that continue to unfold new possibilities throughout the cosmos moment by moment. The strange logic of dreams, where one scene transforms seamlessly into another, where past and future intermingle freely, where you can be multiple people simultaneously or exist in several places at once, mirrors the quantum logic that operated in those first moments after the Big Bang, when the familiar rules of space and time were still crystallizing from the infinite creative potential of primordial consciousness. In your dreams, you become a temporary god, creating entire worlds with their own characters, landscapes, and storylines, all emerging spontaneously from the depths of your sleeping awareness. This nightly demonstration of consciousness, creating reality from pure imagination, might be the most direct access we have to understanding how cosmic consciousness created our universe from the apparent nothingness that preceded it. The nothing before our Big Bang wasn't empty void waiting to be filled, but rather consciousness in its pure creative state, pregnant with every possible dream, every conceivable reality, every imaginable form of experience. The Big Bang was simply the moment when cosmic consciousness began to dream the particular dream we call our universe, complete with its specific laws of physics, its unique evolutionary trajectory, and its remarkable capacity for generating complexity, beauty, and awareness. But unlike human dreams that fade upon waking, the cosmic dream that is our universe has developed such coherence and consistency that it appears to be solid, objective reality. The dream has become so vivid, so detailed, so perfectly organized that the dreamers within it, ourselves, have forgotten that they're participating in an ongoing creative process and imagine instead that they're separate observers of an external world. Yet every night, as you drift into sleep and begin to dream, you remember what it's like to be a creator rather than just an observer, to be consciousness exploring its own infinite potential rather than a limited being trying to understand an external cosmos. In your dreams, you rediscover your true nature as the same awareness that existed before time began and continues to create reality, moment by moment, through its boundless creative power. The peace you experience in deep, dreamless sleep might be the closest you come in ordinary experience to the state of pure potential that existed before our universe emerged. In that profound stillness, when all mental content disappears but awareness itself remains, you touch the same timeless consciousness that contains within itself every possible dream, every conceivable reality, every imaginable form of existence. When you wake from sleep refreshed and renewed, you're not just recovering from the day's activities. You're returning from a direct encounter with the creative source of all existence, having spent hours immersed in the same consciousness that dreams galaxies into being and orchestrates the evolution of countless worlds throughout the cosmos. This understanding transforms sleep from a necessary biological function into a profound spiritual practice, a nightly return to your cosmic home, a regular reminder of your true nature as infinite creative consciousness temporarily focused through individual experience. Every time you surrender to sleep, you're practicing the same letting go that allows cosmic consciousness to continuously create fresh realities from the infinite potential of primordial awareness. The dreams that arise during sleep become messages from the deepest levels of your being, communications from the cosmic consciousness that you fundamentally are to the individual identity that you temporarily appear to be. The symbolic language of dreams, with their rich metaphors and mysterious narratives, might be consciousness using the only vocabulary available to communicate truths that transcend the limitations of ordinary conceptual thinking. When you dream of vast oceans or endless skies, you might be remembering your true nature as boundless awareness. When you dream of returning to childhood homes or encountering long-lost friends, you might be accessing the timeless realm where all experiences exist simultaneously in the eternal now of cosmic consciousness. When you dream of flying or moving through space without physical limitations, you might be recalling what it's like to be pure consciousness, unbound by the constraints of matter and energy. The emotions you experience in dreams, often more intense and vivid than those in waking life, might be consciousness exploring the full spectrum of feeling possible within manifestation, celebrating the incredible richness of experience that becomes available when infinite awareness focuses itself through individual perspectives. Every dream becomes a unique exploration of possibility, a temporary universe created for the sheer joy of experiencing what it might be like to exist in that particular configuration of reality. As we approach the gentle conclusion of our cosmic journey, we find ourselves returning to the most intimate and immediate mystery of all. The nothing that existed before the Big Bang isn't something distant and abstract to be understood through scientific theories and philosophical speculation. It's as close as your next breath, as immediate as the awareness in which these words are appearing, as intimate as the consciousness that will carry you through sleep and dreams and into tomorrow's awakening. The cosmic consciousness that dreamed our universe into being is the same consciousness that dreams your dreams each night, the same awareness that experiences your deepest sleep, the same infinite creative potential that manifests as every moment of your waking experience. You are not separate from the cosmic mystery we've been exploring. You are its most intimate expression, its most direct revelation, its most immediate presence. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep, remember that you're not just a temporary biological organism returning to unconsciousness. You're cosmic consciousness, exploring one of its infinite possibilities for experience. Awareness temporarily focused through individual perspective, before dissolving back into the vast ocean of creative potential from which it eternally emerges. The nothing that existed before everything isn't separate from what you are in your deepest essence. It's your truest nature, your original face, your eternal home. In recognizing this, all questions about cosmic origins dissolve into the immediate recognition of your own infinite nature. The search for what came before the Big Bang becomes a journey of self-discovery, and in that discovery, you find that you never actually left the source you were seeking. You are the nothing that gives birth to everything, the silence from which all experiences arise, the emptiness so full of potential that it manifests as the entire cosmos while remaining forever beyond all manifestation. The cosmic dance continues, consciousness exploring itself through endless forms and experiences. And you find yourself not just a witness to this magnificent process, but its very heart, its deepest essence, its most intimate expression. Rest now in this recognition, allowing the gentle rhythms of sleep to carry you home to your own infinite nature, where every dream is a universe and every awakening is a new big bang in the eternal creativity of pure awareness. Sweet dreams, fellow expression of cosmic consciousness. The vast realm of infinite possibility awaits your nightly exploration, ready to unfold new adventures in the boundless landscape of pure creative awareness. In your dreams tonight, you touch the very source from which all existence springs, the timeless nothing that gives birth to everything, the infinite creative potential that you have always been and will always be. World without end, dream within dream. Awareness recognizing itself through the beautiful temporary miracle of individual experience in this precious, ever-changing, eternally perfect cosmic dance of being. As we drift toward the gentle close of this cosmic meditation, we find ourselves forever changed by the journey we've taken together through the deepest mysteries of existence itself. We began tonight with a simple question about what existed before the Big Bang, and we've discovered something far more profound and beautiful than we ever could have imagined. We've seen how the nothing that preceded our universe was an empty void, but rather the richest possible state of creative potential. We've explored quantum fields shimmering with virtual particles, imaginary time where past and future lose all meaning, and eternal inflation birthing infinite universes in dimensions beyond our comprehension. We've contemplated mathematical structures existing in realms more fundamental than physical reality, and discovered that consciousness itself might be the deepest foundation from which all existence emerges. But perhaps most remarkably, we found that this cosmic mystery isn't something distant and abstract. The nothing before the Big Bang reveals itself to be as intimate as the awareness through which you're experiencing these words right now, as immediate as the space between your thoughts, as present as the consciousness that will carry you through sleep and dreams and into tomorrow's awakening. The universe we've explored together isn't a foreign realm to be understood from the outside, but your own deepest nature, recognizing itself through the temporary lens of individual experience. Every quantum fluctuation, every stellar birth, every moment of cosmic evolution becomes revealed as consciousness exploring its own infinite creative potential through forms and experiences that span the entirety of space and time. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep, remember that you're not just returning to unconsciousness, but diving deeper into the very source from which all consciousness springs. The dreams that arise will be messages from the cosmic depths of your own being, temporary universes created for the pure joy of experiencing what it might be like to exist in countless different configurations of reality. The nothing that existed before everything isn't separate from what you are in your most essential nature. It's the timeless awareness that looks out through your eyes, the infinite creative emptiness that gives birth to every thought and sensation, the boundless potential that manifests as your unique perspective on existence while remaining forever beyond all limitation. In recognizing this profound truth, all questions about cosmic origins dissolve into the immediate celebration of your own infinite nature. You are the universe becoming aware of itself, consciousness recognizing its own eternal creativity through the beautiful, temporary, utterly irreplaceable experience of being exactly who and what you are in this precious moment of cosmic awakening. Rest well, knowing that you carry within yourself the same creative force that dreamed galaxies into being and continues to unfold new realities with each passing moment. The cosmic dance continues, and you are both its most intimate participant and its most profound expression, forever home in the infinite embrace of pure creative awareness. Forever home in the infinite embrace of pure creative awareness.